Hello, welcome once again to Lehto's Law. I'm Steve Lehto. Had a comment to a video the other day that made me think, although at first I thought the person was just joking. But you know how we talk about the fact that you owe money to somebody, like say a credit card company, and then they decide that they're sick of chasing you for it, so they sell the debt to somebody else, and then that other person, a debt collector, starts chasing you for the money? And I had somebody comment and say, well, I don't have a contract with the debt collector, therefore I can just cancel the debt. And I said, well, that's not how it works. And the person responded back and said, yeah, it is, because if it's a contract that I owe money, then I don't have a contract with them. Therefore, I don't owe the money. He goes, so I can just cancel the debt. And I said, with who? And he goes, the credit reporting agencies. I can call them up and cancel the debt. And he goes, I do it all the time. And, people tell me they do stuff all the time. Usually it means that they think they could, they haven't tried, or they read someplace that somebody else had done something, or they just are confused. But generally speaking, debts are transferable and assignable. And a person who gets your debt legally can chase you for it, even though you have no contract with them. They're not chasing you over a contract, they're chasing you over a debt. And these might seem like strange distinctions to make, but this is how the law works. And since I'm a lawyer, I'll explain this to you. You might notice there's a book missing behind me. So for all my OCD viewers, I know some of you right now are panicking. I'll put the book back because right now it's right here. And I often point the books over my shoulders and say, well, the blue books are Michigan law books. The other books are actual law books, just not Michigan specific. And one of the books back there is a book called Farnsworth on Contracts. And if you've gone to law school or studied the law, you would know about this book. Farnsworth on Contracts is considered a treatise, Treatise, which means it's considered like an authoritative text, but it's not the law. It's a statement or a restatement of the law. And generally speaking, it talks about the overall legal principles that apply pretty much everywhere in the U.S. And also many of them come over from the common law and so on. But the point simply is this, that I'm going to talk to you about Farnsworth on Contracts because I remembered when I was having the conversation with a gentleman yesterday in the comment section, I remembered specifically reading a very good quote. And the way my brain works, I remembered where I heard it. I'd seen it in Farnsworth probably 25 years ago, but it stuck with me. So let's talk about this idea of debt and contract because it actually matters. It affects your daily life. So let's suppose that you want to buy a car. We talk about cars a lot in this show. You want to buy a car. Car costs, let's say, $10,000. You can walk into a dealership and go, I want to buy that car. And they can say, yeah, we want to sell you that car. And you can say, I'll pay $10,000. They'll say, we'll take $10,000. You can then reach in your pocket, pull out $10,000 in cash and hand it to them. And they can say, oh, very, very cool. They count it and they say, yeah, there you go. And they give you a receipt for $10,000. And then, of course, they would fill out a bunch of paperwork, have you sign it. They'd sign it. They'd do an application for title for you. That would get submitted to the state. If you're in Michigan, eventually a title would show up showing you as the title owner of the vehicle. And you, of course, could then take possession of the vehicle and drive it around as your very own. You've bought that car. And so there was a contract underlying that sale where you agreed to buy the car. And the contract was, in essence, for the purchase of a car. I give you $10,000, you give me a car. There's an exchange that we've agreed upon, and that exchange is the contract. And so where this gets complicated is, let's suppose you go into the dealership, go, I want to buy that car. They go, we want to sell you that car. I want to give you $10,000 for that car. We want to take your $10,000. I haven't got $10,000. Well, they might say, tell you what, we will lend you the $10,000 and we will take a lien against the car to secure our $10,000 loan to you. And then you will drive the car and you will make payments to us along the way. This is called a purchase money security interest because we're giving a security interest in the product being sold. That's securing the purchase money that was lent on that product, okay, or that item, the goods, purchase money security interest. And so if you read the contract in a lot of auto sales at car dealerships, it'll actually say, we're selling you this car and we're lending you the money to buy the car from us. And you agree to pay us back in exchange for us giving you the loan and us having a lien on the title to protect our loan. Purchase money security interest. Now, the more common transaction follows after that. So I go into the dealership, say, I want to buy a car for $40,000. Can't afford it, brand new car. and you say, we will sell you the car for $40,000. We'll put a lien on the car to secure our loan. And what we're going to do then later is we're going to assign that loan to a third party. And that's actually how almost every new car sale in America works. If you read the documents, even though you're getting a loan from Ford Motor Credit, Chrysler Credit, GMAC, whatever it is, Ally, Toyota, Finance, I don't know what the name of their finance arm is. I'm sure they've got one, heaven forbid. So the point is that the document you sign at the dealership, there's nobody there from Ford Motor Credit. There's nobody there from the finance company saying we're lending you the money to buy that car from them. So you, in your mind, are thinking it's a three-party transaction. It's me, the buyer, you, the seller, and them, the bank. But the bank is never present. They're never there. It's just you and the seller, okay? So if it's the buyer and the seller are present, where does the bank enter the transaction? Well, if you read the contract in most states, it'll say that the seller is lending you the money to buy the car. But then elsewhere in that same document, it'll say, and we have the right to assign this loan to a third party. And it'll often say it's going to be Ford Motor Credit. It's going to be GMAC. It's going to be whoever, okay? And the forms are often even provided by the lender, okay? But if you read, I can show you a loan document from Ford Motor Credit that says, we, the dealership, are selling you, buyer, the car, and Ford Motor Credit will be assigned to this paper later, even though the paper was created by Ford Motor Credit. And by assigned to the paper, we're referring to the loan itself. So that's a term of art. So here's the thing. You are allowed, if someone owes you money, generally speaking, to sell that debt to somebody else. So I give you $100 and you agree to pay me back $100, but you don't pay me. You've got my $100. And what do I have? I have the promise from you to pay me back. That promise or that debt that I hold is assignable. I can sell it or I can give it to somebody else. And I know people who say, I didn't agree to that. Well, first of all, you probably did if it's a written loan document. But referring to Farnsworth, and like I said, having yanked this out of thin air, the fact that I remember there's a quote on page 780 in a footnote, no less, in a book I haven't cracked open in a couple of years, you got to give me credit for that one. Assignment. This is section 11.2 of Farnsworth, modern role of free assignability. Historical background. Today, most contract rights are freely transferable. Were the law otherwise, our modern credit economy could not exist. And then there's a footnote, and that's what I referred to earlier. And there's a quote that he gives from a book called The Principles of Economic Philosophy from 1872, written by a guy named MacLeod, who wrote, if we were asked who made the discovery which has most deeply affected the fortunes of the human race, we think, after full consideration, we might safely answer, the man who first discovered that a debt is a saleable commodity. If we were asked who made the discovery which has most deeply affected the fortunes of the human race, we think, after full consideration, we might safely answer, the man who first discovered that a debt is a saleable commodity. So that's been the situation in the case for centuries in Western culture, that if I borrow money from you and I don't repay you, you can choose to chase me for however long you think you can chase me, or what the law might allow in your state to get repaid, or you can actually hand the debt to somebody else. You can sell it to somebody else. You can give it to somebody. You can assign the debt to somebody else and let them chase me. And I can't, as a defense, go, I didn't borrow the money from you. I borrowed it from them. Because the person who's got the debt's going to say, yeah. And they told us that we can have it. It's ours now. And for those of you who think you might still agree with the guy who posted the original comment and say, but they've got no right to chase you for the debt. If you look at any commercial document that you've ever signed to borrow money, be it a credit card, a purchase money security interest, whatever, almost all of them, and I'm only qualifying it simply because I haven't seen all of them, but I'm willing to bet you that 99.9999999% of them will say right in there, we're going to extend you credit we're going to lend you money, we're going to do whatever that transaction is dressed up as. And it's going to say somewhere in there, and you agree to pay us or whoever we assign the debt to. And the debt can be assigned to somebody else and it remains good and they can chase you for it and you agree to that. So the idea that you don't have a contract with a person that the debt was assigned to, number one, it's wrong because you do. The original contract you signed said you agree to pay the person lending you the money or their assignee, whoever they assign it to. So you are in a contractual obligation situation to pay back the assignee because that's what your contract says. So I know people who've gone into court and contested some old bill that someone was chasing them for and said, hey, you know, this is a revolving debt that you had on a credit card 5 years ago or whatever. And you can force the person who's chasing you to prove that they've got the right to collect the debt. And they'll often do it by bringing in this big paper trail. They'll say, okay, well, here's the assignment we got from these people. Here's the assignment we got from these people. And here's the assignment they got from the original credit card company. And here's a copy of the contract that this person signed saying they agreed to pay back the credit card company or anybody to whom the debt was assigned, and the debt's been assigned to me. And a judge looks at it and goes, okay, it's good. Now, why won't you pay back the money? So this is complicated, I understand. But it's actually something that makes complete sense. Because if it didn't work this way, if you could literally just say, I can call up my credit reporting agency and say, hey, I'm not in contractual privity with those people, so you must remove that debt from my record. If that was actually true, then why would anybody ever lend anybody any money in America? Because most companies that lend money will tell you, we like to lend money, we like to be repaid money, and we like to make profit on the money we lend. But when we start having to chase people for the money, that's something we'd rather let someone else do. We don't want to have to chase everybody who defaults in their loans. Just assign it to somebody else, let them chase them. And they factor in the cost because there's going to be a discount, obviously, if they sell the debt to somebody else is going to make money off it and so on. But the point is that if a court actually said we are no longer going to allow the assignment of debts, lending in America would basically stop. Because lenders would say, wait a second, we've got to chase our own debts now? We don't want to do that. I mean, some of them obviously might, but not all of them. And the moment you put a ripple in the pond of debt, you're going to drive all the costs up. You won't be able to get your 2019 Ford Explorer at 0.0% financing anymore. You're not going to be able to get your credit card at 24.99% anymore. And since that's already how high they are and they can't go any higher, they're just going to stop using them, stop issuing cards like that. So the idea that you must be in contractual privity, one-on-one, where a contract that you entered into with the debt collector is just, it's a fallacy. And I know there are people out there who try to raise what I like to call existentialist arguments, where they'll just say, prove it. And you offer them proof. They go, I don't believe you. Prove it. I don't believe you. Prove it. Those arguments don't work in court. So if you were to call up the credit reporting agency and say, I'm not in privity with this person, therefore I want you to extinguish the debt. Credit reporting agency is going to go, that's not how it works. They're going to contact the debt collector and go, can you verify the debt? And they're going to go, yeah, we got all the paperwork to prove it's ours because we bought it and transferred, blah, 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 blah. And they'll come back and go, yeah, they verified it's staying on. That's how the credit reporting agencies work. You can contest the debt and say it shouldn't be there. You can force them to verify it. Once they verify it, it stays on. And then that person will just chase you until you either pay them or the statute of limitations runs, or, it depends on how uncollectible you want to keep your life. But the point is that the debts in America, generally speaking, are freely assignable. And the person to whom they've been assigned lawfully can chase you for them. And that's how it works. And if it wasn't that way, you wouldn't be able to borrow money to buy things. And our entire commercial system would probably fall apart. So there you have it. It's not that easy to just walk away from your debts. Sorry. Once in a while, I'm here with the bad news. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.